It's interesting, FP, because on the way in today, I was talking to Lucas and Mark Grandy, our great producer and our technical director, and we were getting to that spot in the week where, man, getting excited about the game, but you realize it's still 4 days away, and you start to look at the Lions a little bit harder, I think, as we get closer to game time, and you see in Detroit a team that is eerily similar to the 49ers.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they have good receivers. They're tough on offense. They're just tough. They're physical. It's going to be a very physical game. I think we think of it's going to be a high-flying, high-scoring game, but both teams are super physical, and they're known for their physicality. I was reading in the Detroit News today a lot of Dan Campbell quotes, and he thinks the biggest issue right now, obviously you said it in the Crossfire Dealey thing we just did.
Crossfire Dealey, yeah.
The Crossfire Dealey thing we just did. He said the biggest thing his players have to deal with right now, the most of the time I come in here, it's what he said, there's 20 reporters, and now there's people he's never seen before. So he thinks that the players have to really lock in and focus and keep out the exterior distractions. Like everyone's asking for tickets, everybody's reaching out, everyone's telling them how great they are right now, and they have to fight that because they're in uncharted waters. Like they haven't been here. And I think that the experience factor is something we really didn't touch on yesterday. The fact that the Niners have been in the NFC Championship game 3 years in a row.
Right.
They've been there and done that. And I know there's a lot of Lions players that have been in Super Bowls, but as a team, as a collective unit under Dan Campbell, this is uncharted waters for them. So they do have to lock in. They do have to block out exterior distractions. When you do get to the postseason, it's amazing how many people come out of the woodwork. Your sixth grade biology teacher wants tickets. Everybody wants tickets that you haven't heard from all year. So in that regard, man, you get on the plane, you come out west, you stay in the team hotel and just lock in, put the blinders on, and you try to make it as normal as possible. You try to block out the noise and try to recreate it as just another game. You try to keep the routine the same, but it's really, really hard, man. Because now the locker room, if you've been around it, postseason baseball, you can't even walk in a major league clubhouse because everybody's granted a media credential. And all of a sudden, instead of 4 or 5 beat writers, there's 40 or 50. You can't get through the locker room to get to the training room. There's so many people in there. You've been around it down in the corner of 3rd and King. You've been around it with the Niners in the playoffs.
Yep.
It ratchets up a notch. So all these things that used to be routine and used to be normal, and I go do my routine at this time, you can't anymore because it's not normal. You have families traveling with the team. You have 7 buses instead of 3 buses. You have 3 airplanes instead of 1 airplane. Everything changes. So in that regard, you have to lock in and focus if you're the Lions. And I guess in some regard if you're the Niners too, but I feel like the experience factor is going to really play a big part in Sunday's game.
Right. Almost everybody on the Niners was here last year, or at least a part of it last year. Javon Hargrave was in green last year in the NFC Championship game, and Jair Brown, Jake Moody, they weren't because they're rookies this year, but you go across the roster and the majority of these players were here last year, and many of them were here a couple of years ago because the Niners have made it now 3 straight years. But to that point about Detroit, this is uncharted territory for not only the players and the coaches and the front office, but the entire city as well. And you were mentioning everybody in Honolulu blue with their porch lights. And, you've got everybody in Detroit rallying up. And my good friend, Amy Crawford, who lives over in Oakland, she's from Ann Arbor. I went to her childhood home. It's about a kilometer from the downtown portion. It's right in between the big house and that little downtown area they have there. And so she posted a picture yesterday on her IG, and she's decked out in her Honolulu blue, and her son's got his Amon-Ra St. Brown jersey on. And even fans, my good buddy Derek Petrak, who is a member of Contra Costa Country Club, gets me out there golfing. He's from Michigan. He's all in on Detroit. My buddy Dan Daly, who advertises on this very station, he's all in. And
it's a good story, man. It really is. As much as we are Niner fans,
everybody who's either a Detroit fan or Detroit adjacent, they're all fully all in. And you mentioned it about America's team. Detroit is America's team. Now, outside of maybe Northern California and parts of Western Nevada, everybody else in the country is hoping the Lions get this thing done.
Yeah, they are. And the Niners are the bad guys this week for sure. Let me see. Where was it? Vivid Seats reports in an email that the Lions fans are expected to flirt with taking over 18% of Levi's Stadium this Sunday afternoon in San Francisco. Prices have risen as demand has continued to spike, with the ticket group reporting prices for the game have increased 353%. So as things stands right now, 82% Niner fans, 18% Lions. That's a lot of Lions fans in Levi's.
It is,
But I mean, not a lot, but it is a lot.
No, it's significant. If it's 1-5, and you can understand it in terms of 49er fans. If you are a season ticket holder and you get your tickets and you go to every game, and now you're in a spot where Lions fan maybe wants to give you $1,000 a seat, it's tempting. It's tempting to not say, you're going to sell your seats and then maybe go to your buddy's house or go to your favorite watering hole. And I wonder how many 49er fans are thinking about that as we get closer to the game, because, this is a hot ticket if you're a Lions fan. You don't get this very often. And in fact, you don't get this ever. The last time the Lions were in the championship game, 1991 at Washington. So you're talking about 33 years since the Lions have been in this spot to where you could be in attendance as your team maybe makes it to the Super Bowl. So in terms of that, you'll find some Lions fans who are going to pay top dollar or maybe pay anything that you offer to get your tickets just to be there at Levi's on Sunday.
Yeah, it's understandable. They're fired up. We're fired up. I can't wait. Dibs, when I do this every day, don't you get sick of talking about it by about Thursday? And you're just like, let's play the game. Like, we're breaking it down. You're breaking it down everywhere you can. The NFC Championship game last year with the Eagles, we had Eagles guests on. We had Eagles reporters on. We had Niners reporters on. We had people live from Levi's and getting ready. The plane is leaving. And it's just like, can we just play the game? And what is it, Wednesday right now? I'm already there. Let's just play the game.
Well, and we are sitting here 97 hours away because you're talking about Sunday at 3:30. So you got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then into Sunday, 3:30 kick. So 97 more hours to really wring your hands and think about what possibly might be. You mentioned Dan Campbell earlier. Here's a piece of sound from Dan Campbell about what he thinks the Lions absolutely have to do.
You got to stop the run, because if you don't, they'll rush for 250 on you, and then they won't even worry about passing. Look, Shanahan does an unbelievable job of, he's going to work one side and make you overreact, and then he counters off of it, and then he play passes off of it and works the middle of the field. So, look, you got your hands full in both regards, and Purdy does a hell of a job. They throw a lot of daggers middle of the field, and he does a hell of a job with touch, timing, rhythm. But we have to stop this run game. It just has to start there. You, as much as you can, you have to try to make this team one-dimensional, and that's not easy to do.
Not easy at all, but if they do make them one-dimensional, FP, and it becomes a Purdy game, how does that affect your confidence, 49er fans? 888-957-9570. If Dan Campbell is able to do what he is setting out to do, which is stop the run and at the very least control the run. You're not going to completely silence the run game, but Dan Campbell's right about everything in the Shanahan offense being built off the run. They'll get you going one way, then they'll counter you the other way, or they'll play action off that and hit you with the pass. And Brock Purdy's accurate, and he likes to throw down the middle off the play action. If it becomes a Purdy game, how you feeling, Niner fans? 888-957-9570. Because last week, it wasn't a Purdy game until it had to be, and he led you to a victory.
I have confidence in Brock. I have confidence that it's going to be 66 degrees on Sunday and sunny and no rain.
And dry, yeah. No more rain after this afternoon, I think.
Really? I came in on my scooter in the rain, and it was rough.
Right.
Dodging buses on Market Street in the rain. That was not easy. So
Dodging buses in the rain on Market Street.
Without a helmet.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to that. You were so mad at me when I got here today.
I mean, you don't even know how mad I am, honestly.
Anyways. I get smarter if a bus hit me, so I'm not really worried about it.
Gotcha. I will spend the next 3.5 hours lecturing you if I have to.
Do it, but people don't want to hear that. Who has the most pressure on him this Sunday? I'm seeing our 95.7 The Game question. Is it Kyle Shanahan? Is it Brock Purdy? Or is it the defensive line, who we're going to have a guest on from that?
Yeah, Eric Armstead, 4:45. Matt Barrow is going to join us at 4:15 as well. Answer that. Who do you think has the most pressure on him?
Brock Purdy.
Of the three, it's Brock Purdy.
Kyle's been to the Super Bowl. If they win this week, Kyle will have the most pressure on him in the Super Bowl. But right now it's Brock Purdy, based on that he had 3 clunky quarters last week, and he locked in when he had to lock in, and he flushed it when he had to flush it, because that's not easy. We've talked about that ad nauseum this week, on how as an athlete, when things start to go south in big games, man, it takes a special mind and a special sort of mental toughness to be able to lock in, flush it, turn things around when you're the only game on TV. There's 75,000 people in the stadium that you're playing for your season. and he threw everything else out that had happened in that game, all the bad passes, all the bad reads, all the bad routes that Ray ran or whatever it was throughout the course of the game. And when he had to, he got it done, man. Like all the great ones. I watched the drive the other day. Did you see that on Twitter or X, whatever the hell they call it now? It had the Super Bowl 23 and Joe Montana against the Bengals, and they had the whole drive, like the whole video of it on Twitter. I think I retweeted it. Right. I think it was one of the greatest drives in the history of football, not in the Niners, because it was precision, it was confidence, it was calm, it was poise. And it was when preparation meets opportunity. And you have what was it, a minute something left in the Super Bowl. You're down by 3, and you just methodically go bip, bip, bip. And apparently, somebody said on Twitter, I don't know if this is true, that Joe Montana was hyperventilating on the sidelines. You could never tell. That was the John Candy game.
Exactly.
He threw an out in that drive, about a 15-yard out to his left to Jerry Rice that was just a dart and hit him 2 steps before it out of bounds. And then, obviously, the slant to John Taylor. So those drives don't compare, obviously, but
of course.
But I mean, similar. But if you get a chance to check that drive out again, it was on my Twitter, and I think it's probably the greatest drive I've ever seen in my life.